Hi everyone, this is Striker and welcome to episode number 2 of my EXTREME-G2 strategy guide. Today, we will be taking a look at my new world record on a track called Anville Breakers, an awesome course that snakes its way through an industrial sector within a dense red city. To start this lap, we encounter the most prominent feature of this particular track, a long, dense inverted loop. I preemptively hit my nitro boost here, so that when I do cross the starting line, I am already at peak velocity, which I am then able to hold throughout the entirety of this first straightaway. Those hills that you saw during the straightaway don't affect your run too greatly, so just drive in a straight line, and as some of you may remember from way back when, relax those hands. Now as we enter the tunnel, depending on how well you are able to stay towards the floor of this tunnel while turning, determines whether you will need to apply a brake at the end of it before you drop into the first downhill segment. In this particular lap, I stayed pretty close to the middle, so I apply a slight hit of the brake to slow my velocity down and not get thrown too high over this first ridge. I do give up a little bit of speed, but in return, I receive consistency, which is far more important when trying to create repeatable time trials. This next figure 8 section can be steered rather easily through, but then we have another one of those dreaded hills that you might recall from my battles in Hydra Prime the Abyss. Much like those hills, this one can be a bit tricky. I also apply a hit of the brake during this section, so I don't fly too high where my mouse cursor is here and hit the ceiling. From here, there are two schools of thought in this particular turn. I can either turn with a left stick direction and use some of those quick drifts to change the angle of my bike to the left. But as you see from this slow-mo that will initiate right here, you don't see that shift. You see a rather smooth turn, and that is because what I am doing is pulling back as I'm turning to the left on the control stick. That gives me a very sharp turn entering this tunnel and allows me to maintain more speed, provided I'm able to take it in a straight line. Some of the speed loss you saw just there, where this previous ghost overtook me, was because my bike actually went a bit airborne. Now let me play these next couple of turns in real time and then we'll take a look in slow motion. So this is the most snaking part of the track. We have a left turn over a hill, a right turn over a hill, and then another left turn. All three of these turns are blind at the speeds we're traveling at in a time trial. So it's very important that you preset the angle of your bike before going over the hill. Something else I do here, once again, is change the direction of the control stick. I am actually going to pitch down. Pitching down allows me to take this without too much airtime. And too much airtime could mean too much loss of speed. From here, we're staying relatively close to the center of the track. Once again, I'm going to try and attempt to pitch down with only a minor lift of the bike, and I prepare for the third turn. Third turn is much like the other two, with the only difference being we are entering a tunnel. So now we have to hold the angle of our steering for a little bit longer as we cross through that section. Now we talked about in Hydra Prime how the difficulties of the tracks can change depending on what variation of the track you selected. In this particular section, the previous Anvil lap that I had submitted to YouTube was through this barrier here, and it leads you to a relatively straight shot into the final section. But in Breakers, we now have to deal with the most treacherous part of this entire run. We have a very quick left turn followed by a hill that throws you in the air. From here, we enter into a tunnel where the geometry of the track can wreak havoc on your bike's direction. So notice the seam here. We have a seam here and a seam up top. Hitting either of the two sides is a surefire way to end your run or loop around the tunnel itself. Staying in the middle seems like the obvious solution, but at the speed that we're traveling at, it can be almost impossible to land that cleanly. So as I'm coming across, I slightly tap the brake here. That allows me just enough time to create a quick shift of the bike there, and then fly down through the tunnel. My angle wasn't perfect, and that's why I had a minor scrape here on the right side and a subsequent scrape here on the left. But overall, I did not lose a lot of speed, and you can see how at this point I overtake my previous Ghost, and I don't ever see it again. As I come around the final turn now, just a minor wall scrape, but I exited pretty clean. Now these hills aren't too bad, but as we come across the final hill, we have a ramp. This ramp is inappropriately placed, as we'll never want to take it in an actual lap. It's there to check our awareness of hills and navigation. So watch how I just snake around it. And once I do this, here's a shortcut that we've now opened an angle for. Once I come into the shortcut and I make sure I'm in a clean position to exit, not hitting any of the sidewalls, now I can apply my nitro boost. And watch how I fly out of the shortcut and into the final inverted loop once more. Now from here, we are gaining a tremendous amount of speed, and we've initiated a nitro boost prior to the loop relative to where we started the lap. So, as we come across the loop, it gets increasingly likely that our bike will be thrown to one side or the other of the track, or even in the air. So watch it in real speed. Watch how the bike is just barely hanging onto the middle. And what I'm doing here is applying steering inputs. So as I come across, you see the air time. If I can land the bike clean, now watch how I'm starting to sway left, sway right, sway left. I'm making those adjustments so that I don't come across the final portion of the hill and end up being thrown sideways, which is something that you might have seen in other laps online. From here, it's a clean break to the finish, and I get to celebrate my new world record. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoy this content, please check out the Hydra Prime The Abyss lap that I also uploaded a couple of weeks ago. That one is a far more technical track than Anville, but a lot of the same principles apply, so it should be a good watch. For those EXTREME-G fans who have not seen my Redout content, I would strongly urge you to do so. Redout and now its sequel, Redout 2, are great games and should be in everyone's collection if you're a fan of going fast. Thank you once again, and have a great night.